Welcome to I Am One, where I am one with the Creator and one with myself. We are still in the midst of Hoodoo Heritage Month, and I thought, I'm doing the weekday readings with the Hoodoo Tarot deck, but I thought I would also do a working that's something that we in Conjure Hoodoo root work would do on a regular basis. As just a general practice. But also with this being Hoodoo Heritage Month, and with Samhain or Halloween coming up on the 31st, I think this is one of those things that I think is perfect timing for sharing some protection. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what is called red brick dust protection. Now, in general, all you need is a red brick, which is what I have right here. And what you would do, you would just get some dust from this, and you would sprinkle the dust on either and or your front threshold of the door and the back door threshold. You may do some on the windowsills. You may do it in the corners of the home. It just depends on what your situation is. You may do some on the perimeter of the house. It all just depends. But I thought I would do that because this is something simple. And like I said, this is something that is pretty much a staple for Hoodoo Conjure root work, that in order to protect our surroundings, we would use the dust from a red brick. Why a red brick? There, you can go on YouTube and find, as I did, find several videos that talks about the history of using the red brick dust for protection. So I'm going to let you do that homework on your own. I want to keep this brief. I want to show you two ways in how you can use the red brick dust for protection. This way is the most common way. And again, like I said, all you really need is a red brick and the dust from that brick. I'm going to mix it up a little bit because I saw on one of the YouTube channels called Witch Please, he goes by the name of Odin, and he did like a powder that he put together just to give the protection a little more oomph to it. And so I thought I would incorporate that in sharing this time with you. And also because this brick that I'm using is special to me. It's not just an ordinary brick. It's actually one of the bricks from the home of my grandfather and grandmother on my father's side. That home recently burned to the ground, broke my heart, and as well as my family members' hearts. But when I was down south last weekend celebrating my oldest sister's 70th birthday, I stopped by the house, and one of my uncles happened to be there, and I asked for permission to have one of those bricks, and he gave me permission to bring back one of the bricks home with me. So this brick is very special to me. So I'm going to use some of the dust from this particular brick. And what I like to do as I'm learning my conjure, my root work, my hoodoo skills, honing those and learning the craft of that, is anytime I can make whatever the working is myself, I want to do that. So if I have the ingredients that within my home that I don't have to necessarily go ahead and buy, I will use what I have. And that's what our people did as they were doing this. They used what they had to make these workings work, to give them the protection they needed, to give them whatever the case called for. Whatever they had, they used that. They put their essence into it. They put their prayers into it. They put their heart into it, and they made it work for them. So that's what I like to do as much as I possibly can. This past summer, I grew more herbs in my garden because I wanted to have my own sage that I grew. I wanted to have my own, what else did I grow? Sage, lemon balm, basil, lavender, what was the other one? Rosemary. So I grew that stuff myself because I thought if I'm going to learn how to do these things as much as I can, I want to grow my own, have my own at my disposal. So I've been drying them and then jarring them to store them and preserve them. the oils. So I made my own protection oil. I made my own, what is this? I made my own money drawing oil. I made my own healing oil. I've done my own. I bought a bottle of Florida water, but then I found a recipe from Mama Eve and made my own. So once I used this original bottle, I refilled it with the Florida water that I made on my own. So I'm doing my best whenever I can, that whatever working I'm going to do, I want to have something in that working that calls for something that I already have in the house or something that I can grow myself. So with this, he kicked this up a notch. He didn't just use the red dust from the brick. He kicked it up a notch and added some extra things. And so he added some cayenne pepper. He also added some red pepper. I had red pepper flakes, and I'm not going to actually use this, but I thought I'd just put it in here so that you can see along with the red brick. He also used some dragon's blood. He used the resin, and I found the powder, so I think that's close enough. So what I'm going to do is put all these things together, grind it up in my mortar and pestle, and then I'm going to put it together and use that as protection for my home. So again, I'm not going to use the red pepper flakes because what I have to substitute for that is a couple years ago, well, several years, we've been growing our own jalapeno peppers. But a couple years ago, we grew some and we didn't use them all. So we let them sit and we let them dry and dry and dry. And I think this is about 8 to 10 peppers. So what I did was I put them in the Cuisinart. I just ground them all together. First, I started with a little coffee grind. That wasn't big enough. So I went to the Cuisinart and I put them in there and I ground those up and made my own powder. This stuff is potent. So if you do something like that, you're going to want to wear a mask because it's going to choke the life out of you. But it came from my garden and I've been able to save it. So I'm going to incorporate this instead of the red chili. But again, use what you have. You can also use what I've heard is some cinnamon powder. That cinnamon is known to help with abundance. And so with the protection and abundance, that, you know, those two things can go hand in hand. And what a, you know, a nice 1-2 punch. I didn't bring any of the cinnamon powder down with me, but if you want to do that, you could add that to this as well. So here's what I'm going to do. From this red brick, I made some powder myself earlier today. So my husband helped me. I was using a hammer. He gave me a mallet. So I used the hammer to kind of chisel off from the sides. And then he gave me the mallet, and that actually helped to grind this down as fine as I was able to get it. So that's pretty darn good for a first time out. So I'm going to take each of these. Oh, and by the way, before I do any working, I always have a candle lit. I always have some water with me. And I also use the Florida water, or I'll use the Palo Santo stick or some sage, and I will cleanse myself before I do the work. I've already done that, so you don't have to see me do all that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the dragon's blood powder. I'm going to pour that, some of that into the mortar there. And so what Odin did was each time he added an ingredient, he ground it up and he actually said a prayer over it. So I'm going to, there it is in there. I'm just going to grind this up and I'm just going to say a prayer to myself. Okay. And now I'm going to add, ground it up just a little bit more so you can see that. And now what I'm going to add is my red brick dust. So I'm going to add that in here. Now, when I got back to the hotel last weekend when I was down in Georgia, I'm adding these two together. I'm just speaking my intention over this. When I got back to the hotel, after getting permission from my uncle to take the brick, I did a special ceremony over this brick. I prayed over it. I gave reverence and honor to my grandparents, my grandfather, we called him Big Daddy and Big Mama. So I gave them honor and reverence with some smoke and some, I think I had some whiskey. I gave them a special offering over this brick. So then that's these two together. Now I'm going to add, I think I'm going to do the cayenne first because that's going to hurt me. I just know it. And you can put as much in here as you want. I'm just, I think the star of the show is the red brick. So I'm going to use more of that than anything. But I'm going to pour some of the cayenne in here. And as you can see, everything is pretty much in the same hue. That to the side. Mix that all in there. All right. Here comes our jalapeno powder. Gonna add a little of that in there. Probably added more than I wanted to. And if you notice, I'm not touching any of this stuff with my hands. I'm pouring it in there and I'm letting everything come together in the mortar with the pestle. And that is everything. Now, another thing that I've heard several different people say you can do is you can add some of your own essence. Many of them say women can use some of their menstrual blood to add to this to, again, bring your own essence into it. I'm well past that. So that's not going to happen. But what I am going to do is I'm going to add a little of my own blood into this, which I'm not going to show on camera, but that is going to be a part of this process as well. All right, so I have added my essence to this along with the essence of my grandparents. Oh, this is awesome. So grateful for this opportunity. And now I'm just going to pray over the whole thing. And I'm going to present it to the 4 directions. So I'll be back after I do that. All right, so I have blessed that and prayed over that. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to add it to I bought a salt shaker just for this. So I'm going to add all of the ingredients into this salt shaker. And when I am ready to put it into use, it will be ready to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use those spoons, but this way worked out much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pour everything onto this parchment paper. And I'm going to grab this got a whiff of that dust. Paintbrush to get all of the dust out. Hold up the paper. There we go. the paper. And see if I can do this without making a major mess. Let's see that. Obviously, when I want more, there's the pepper. I can add more. Fill that up. And by the way, I did cleanse the salt shaker. So everything that I use, I cleanse it before I use it. You didn't need to see all that, but just know that I did. And that's what you should always do. Anything that you're going to use, cleanse it, smoke it, smudge it, however way you want to cleanse it, but go ahead and make sure you do that. And then this is ready to go. And again, a little goes a long way. So just because it doesn't seem like I filled this all up, I'm not going to use it all anyway. I will say, if you're like if you live in an apartment and you can't do the threshold as you're walking into the apartment door, you could probably get some parchment paper. If you have carpeting, just like tear off a little piece of parchment paper and you can sprinkle some on this and put it in the corners of the home of your apartment. Be careful if you have pets, if you have small children, you'll have to adjust how you're going to make that work so that none of them are harmed. Especially if you're going to do more than just the red brick dust itself. If you're going to add these spices to it to kind of kick it up a notch, be careful for your pets about putting that in their reach, and even young children. Just be careful about that. But if that's not an issue for you, you can sprinkle it on the threshold of the front door, the back door. You could probably do windowsills. Again, if you're in an apartment, use some parchment paper, sprinkle some down, or just get a little corner, sprinkle some down in the corner, and you are good to go. If your front door, back door doesn't have an overhang and that area gets wet when it rains or snows or whatever kind of weather you have in your area, then you may need to do this more often than not. But if you have the overhang, maybe once a month, once a couple months, you decide when you think you need to add some more protection for your home. You can also do this at work. You can take it and sprinkle some in the corners of your cubicle. If you happen to have your own office where you can close the door, sprinkle some in the corners of your office. And I'm a supervisor, so I have my own office, but my workers are coming in and out of my office all day. So putting it on the threshold, I don't want to repel them from coming in, but I don't want their negative energy in my office either. So if I'll put it in the corners of my office, that's going to help, squell some of that kind of energy coming in and protect once they bring it in there. So there you have it. The red brick from my grandparents' home, and kick it up a notch for protection for my home, knowing that my ancestors are working on my behalf, as I know they always are. And I thank them for being part of their bloodline. I thank them for the love and support and care they gave me when they were here, and the love, support, and care I know they're giving me on the other side. And so with that, that is the first way that I want to show you, but I'll make another video using the red brick dust in another way. So if this way won't work for you in your home or your office, there's another way that I'll show you that you can work with the red brick dust. But for this working, thank you for joining me. Have a great day. And with that, peace and blessings to you all.